I'm your Huckleberry.
Just kidding. My name is Devon, and I'm here in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. We're up in the mountains. It's a beautiful day to do a movie review, but not just a movie review, a SteelBook movie review of Tombstone, one of my favorite movies. This is the first 4K remastered, I guess you can say, 4K edition of this movie, and on SteelBook as well. Came out last year, and we're in a very special place in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. We're at Doc Holliday Graves Trailhead. I can't say that right. Doc Holliday's grave trailhead, where supposedly it's debated whether or not he's actually buried here, and where he's buried. But we're gonna go up top because I want to do a movie review up there, because the reason I even got into this movie in the first place was because I visited this very grave site and I wanted to learn more about Doc Holliday. So let's head on up, let's skin our smoke wagons and go to the top.
Born in 1851, Doc Holliday was originally a young dentist from Georgia until he was diagnosed with tuberculosis, the same deadly disease that killed both his sister and his mother. This pushed him to go west, through states like Texas, New Mexico, and of course Arizona and Colorado, believing a much drier climate could help relieve him of his symptoms. Through his journey, he became a gambler, and also met Wyatt Earp, leading us to the events we see in our movie here. In his final days, Holliday came right here to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, treating himself with its hot springs. However, most likely the hot springs only accelerated his tuberculosis due to the moisture. He passed away at 36 years of age in 1887.
All right, we've made it to the top. It was worse last time when it was really hot. It's a little bit nicer today, but the hill is still no joke. It's kind of hard to imagine people bringing bodies up here to be buried. It's a little bit of a tough climb, like I said. But yeah, it's not really entirely sure if Doc Holliday was actually buried here, because there was one author, I believe, who said that the ground would have been too frozen, because he died in November of 1887. The ground would have been too frozen, and there would be no reason to bring him all the way up here if they couldn't actually, put the shovel into the dirt. But there's actually other accounts that say that there was people buried in the same time of November 1887, but we don't know where he's buried. That's the other part of this, is we don't know where he's buried, but they did, Glenwood Springs did erect a gravestone for him right over here. You can go check it out now.
As I mentioned, Holliday was mostly associated with Wyatt Earp in the shootout at the OK Corral in Tombstone. But it was the early 1900s explosion of Western art, movies, books, etc., that Doc Holliday really then registered with the general populace. I haven't been able to find when this headstone was made, but this is actually the second one, since the first one had his birth year wrong. While Holliday supposedly only spent 57 days here in Glenwood Springs, visitors and locals alike come up here to pay their respects with coins, whiskey, or flowers.
This one's for you, Doc. So Westerns are a genre of film that I've kind of explored a little bit. I've seen quite a few. It's not to a level where I feel like I'm an expert in it yet, but I do enjoy a lot of Westerns. But David, friend of the show, and I came up here 2 years ago, like I mentioned, and we checked out Doc Holliday's grave here. And David really knew a lot more about Doc Holliday. I've heard the name, but wasn't really familiar with the history. And there's a lot of little placards around the graveyard here where you can read about Doc Holliday. And I got to learn a little bit more. But after our vacation up here, we went back to Denver, and we were trying to decide on a movie to watch, a Western movie. We were really inspired by our trip up here to Glenwood Springs, and he recommended Tombstone because he kept seeing clips on TikTok of Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday.
Looks like somebody just walked over your grave.
And he's like, we should watch that one, after seeing his grave. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And easily my favorite Western that I have seen. And one of the big reasons I really enjoy this movie is the star-studded cast. Kurt Russell, is Wyatt Earp, Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton, Virgil and Morgan Earp, his brothers.
I'm mentioning our four horsemen of the cowboy apocalypse here, but really the whole cast is great. We have Donna Delaney as Josephine, aka Wyatt's crush, Powers Booth as our main villain Curly Bill, and also Michael Biehn of Terminator and Aliens fame as Johnny Ringo. Oh, and Michael Rooker has a small role as Sherman McMasters as well, but like I said, everyone is great in this, not just the leads.
And then you have a legendary performance. Arguably one of the best performances of his career. Iceman himself, Val Kilmer, plays Doc Holliday. This cast is pretty stacked. As I mentioned, Kurt Russell is our Wyatt Earp. He's the main character. But honestly, this is Val Kilmer's movie with Doc Holliday. He presents a swagger to the character throughout. He's always sweating from tuberculosis, but he presents him as if like that's just like not happening, and I really like that throughout. But one of my favorite scenes in this movie, and he has many memorable scenes in this movie, but one of my favorites is when Doc Holliday meets Johnny Ringo, and they're both trying to impress the other, or kind of say like I'm better than you, because there's some legends behind both of them, like, oh, I'm the faster gunslinger, or I'm better at poker than you. And that scene when they first meet and then the bar's kind of quiet and watching them confront each other, really, I love how they're doing the gun tricks and whatnot. And they also speak I think it was French or a different language, not remembering now.
Juventus Stultorum Magister in pace requiescat.
Come on, boys. We don't want any trouble in here, not in any language.
That's Latin, darling. Evidently, Mr. Ringo's an educated man.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes that Val Kilmer does for Doc Holliday there. It's one of our early scenes with him, but I feel like that's like the first, one of the first really big scenes in that movie where, they don't show all the action, but you can feel it in a way because of just how they're talking to one another, how they're showing off. It's just a really, really fun scene there. So as I mentioned at the top, or rather the bottom of this hill, this is the first 4K SteelBook of this movie. In fact, this is the first 4K release of this movie. And I was reading other reviews of this, and there hasn't been a Blu-ray since, I think, 15 years ago, and people were saying it's miles better, and I have to agree. The 4K is very, very well done in this movie. The colors really pop in this release, and there's one scene where Wyatt and Josephine are flirting in the woods, or rather, cheating in the woods. We know what you did. And the greens of the grasses there, the reds of the flowers, the browns of the trees, all the colors are just so vibrant. The lighting on our characters' faces, it makes them so pretty. It's just, overall, just like I said, so vibrant, and the lighting is just perfect. It feels like you're right there. All the scenes in the saloons and all the nighttime scenes, but especially in the saloons, the shadows are so dark. Like they did a good job of finding the black point in all of them, and it really just adds to the atmosphere of this film. It gives that cozy feel. Like I said, in the saloons, that cozy feel. It's just so good to look at. But yeah, overall, the lighting in this movie, the HDR of this movie is chef's fucking kiss. Wow.
I watched this movie, by the way, on my PlayStation 5, and I have a Sony TV that has HDR. Just want to preface that.
Now let's talk about the best part of this movie. Everyone says it. I'm sure you agree as well if you've seen this movie, is the build-up and the fights, the gunfights at the OK Corral. You gotta love how swaggy they look as they're walking towards the OK Corral. You have Doc Holliday sweating his ass off, but he has a cool shotgun. They're all wearing black as well. They're like the execution squad coming to take care of business. And you also have the fire behind them. It's so cool. They knew what they were doing with this, and it's like that that hero action shot. And it was so good that they also put it in the end credits as well. That whole sequence. So yeah, this 4K is fantastic. In terms of the actual like discs on it, there's a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. Unfortunately, on either disc, there isn't a director's commentary. I'm a big director's commentary guy, and so that's kind of a bummer. And on the 4K disc, it just auto plays basically. There's a play button, and if you don't click it, it'll just autoplay. So the 4K disc, I mean, as much as it's visually nice and that's what you're paying for, all the bonus features are on the Blu-ray disc, which, kind of inconvenient. So like I said, no director's commentary, but there is a cool around 25-minute on-set documentary. Like they were talking to the different cast members like as they're on set. So you get those raw thoughts, which are pretty good. You also hear from director George P. Cosmatos there. Him talking about some of the scenes like the OK Corral scene. There is also another bonus feature on there of the screenplay of the OK Corral scene, which is pretty cool to look at as well. But in the documentary, there is a lot of nuggets that I really liked. One of my favorite ones was Kurt Russell was actually talking about how much respect he had for the buckaroos, who are people who are like cowboys, they're dressed up and whatnot, who were voluntarily camping outside of set during the day and then coming in for the night scenes there. So they were camping in like 110-degree weather, but they were just doing it because they loved the story of Tombstone. They wanted to be in the movie. So that's a cool little nugget that I really enjoyed in the documentary.
The SteelBook physically is great. I like the art in the front. It's got all the boys. And on the back is the sheriff's badge, but here's also a look inside so you can take a look for yourself.
So overall, I'd give this SteelBook a 4.5 out of 5. The movie's a 5 out of 5, of course. I think my biggest critique, like I said, is the lack of the extra features on the 4K disc itself. But I find that a lot of collector's editions still do that. I have a couple of different movies that, will have all the bonus features on a separate disc. And usually it's because they're in a standard definition format, so it kind of doesn't matter if it's on the 4K disc. But just for the sake of convenience, it would be nice to have it on the 4K disc. I think, though, when you have a 4K SteelBook release, you have the opportunity, especially one that, like I said, was 15 years in the making, you have the opportunity to have a director's commentary or some sort of revisitation of bringing back old cast members. It really does suck that we lost Val Kilmer last year when this came out. I know he was also dealing with throat cancer leading up to his passing, but also Cosmatos, the director, also died, I think, in early 2000s. But I think them two, and then Kurt Russell, having them in like one room to do a director's commentary would have been really cool. So it sucks we don't get that. At least the other bonus features are there. But the 4K disc itself, like I said, is very, very well done. It's super vibrant. The colors, the lighting, it has everything you can ask for in a 4K disc. And I've watched other 4K stuff, and this might be one of my favorite 4K discs that I've watched on my TV. And it just has that realism to it that it just looks really good. And if you're a Western fan, Tombstone's probably up there for you. Like I said, Tombstone's probably my favorite Western I've seen so far. This is a must add to your collection. It just looks so good, and it is worth the price. And like I said, despite like they're missing a director's commentary, it's just like a personal thing I would like. This really is a very fun SteelBook to have. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for this SteelBook.
Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday in Tombstone is iconic, and probably how most people will visualize Doc Holliday when they hear his name. How close the movie's adaptation was to real life, we'll never know, but Kilmer and this movie gives us a glimpse. I highly recommend folks watch this movie and also read up about Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. They truly represent the cowboy. One thing's for sure, Wyatt Earp and his immortals are truly immortal thanks to Tombstone. I hope you enjoyed my quick review of the 4K SteelBook of Tombstone, right here in Glenwood Springs. I'll catch you next time, maybe at the theater or at the poker table at the OK Corral.
Yeah. I almost fell.
I've got 2 guns, 1 for each of you.
I got 2 discs, 1 for me.
I got 2 discs, 1 for not yet because
me.
I took a fire.
Yeah. That was the grass. I thought something bit me. And then I'll be like, but yeah, just overall, you know, I'll say the whole thing. All right. The chefs. Fucking kids. It's like I live. I'm like dying. Yeah. The tubes. The tubes. You don't want to catch that. Oh, we should do a shot here. Yeah, basketball hoop in the back.